got called back. So
Okay.
basically, he was done after about, I don't know, I think it was like 18 or 19 months, somewhere around there.
Okay. And now you had your number put in, but you weren't drafted, right?
Right, so then basically they came out with a draft that, I don't remember the year it started. I think it was 1970 or 71. So for me, basically my mother, the day I turned 18, she took me down to the draft board before I went to school. And so my first signing was 1SH, so I was one high school, so I wasn't what was called 1A, which
Okay.
meant I was not eligible until I finished high school.
Okay.
And the draft came out in that 71, and I think it was already starting to wind down. I think they went up to about number 110 or so, and my first number was 240.
Oh, so you were way off, thankfully.
Yeah, so, and then the next year, they only went up like through 35, and my number was like 150. The next year, they only went up like through 5, and I was down to, each year I got lower, like 105 or somewhere around there. So I was never close. Plus, I was in college, so they were actually going for non-college students. I always wondered why that mattered if you were going to college versus not, but I guess there was some preferential treatment for that. So.
Well, it's kind of like a loophole, right? If you went to college, you were not necessarily exempt, but you were much less likely to go.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I always thought that was kind of interesting, but I guess that way they had people back here still building stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had a friend of mine smash his knee because he was going over there and he didn't want to go. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did people fake like other injuries or pretend was being gay back then also a reason to not go?
I guess if you were out, but not that many people came out. So, and then my oldest brother was turned down because he had flat feet. So
That's right.
Because you wouldn't march. So he basically could have gone because he dropped out of. Well, he did drop out of college. He actually had stopped for a semester, then went back, and then finished up. So because he changed, when he was going to get his degree in.
Okay.
So.
All right. So was Rick in college when Neil went off to the war, or was he already out of the house?
Yeah, Rick was 2 years older than Neil as far as grade. So yeah.
Okay, so he wasn't in the picture as much at that time.
Like I said, he could have been. Like I said, he changed his program, and so he was out for a little while. But because he was going right back in, they kind of watched him, and he went back in. But he wouldn't have been able to get in anyhow because, like I said, he was with his flat feet. So.
Okay. Well, what was life like outside of the home while the war was going on? Like, what was the general environment of, I guess, Upper Jersey?
It was weird because actually one of the major places for where the soldiers went over to Vietnam was Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Okay.
So that was I think there were two places where all the training went for the Vietnam War, and one was right there in New Jersey. It was about 45 miles away. I remember going there after the war, and it was like this deserted, huge base, but it was totally deserted, but it was there for the preparation of all the soldiers to go over to Vietnam for the Army. It was weird. It was a lot of, I came from a pretty conservative town, and for the most part, almost everybody, if they number came up or they got drafted, they went in. So we talked about New Jersey, a few other states in the Midwest, especially Pennsylvania, where it was not as liberal as some places that you would not. The big thing was going to Canada.
Right.
If you didn't want to go in. So, but again, it was always in the news every day. I mean, it was one of those things where what's big on the highlights. It was pretty much on the news every night. And something always going on, and the fact that my brother was over there and always talk about it in high school.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a lot of like rallies or anything like that. I don't remember ever seeing a rally against the war until I went to college because I actually went to art school. So it was a total different atmosphere for me when I first went to college. Because here I was fairly conservative, and here I was around a whole bunch of, at the time, called hippies, and I didn't fit in very well. So it took a while to adapt to college life for me.
Okay. Now, so I take it you weren't a part of any protests or any, like, show? Or...
No, not at all. No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
See, I always pictured you as one of the hippies.
No, I dressed the part, but I probably would have gone. I wasn't the type that I felt like I would go to Canada. But plus with my parental pressure, I'd probably have been,
Yeah.
excluded from the family if I had gone to Canada. So
Now, did you know anybody who went to Canada or know of anybody?
I didn't know anybody. I knew of some people through talks with other people, but I did not know anybody who went to Canada.
Okay. All right. I guess we're gonna fast forward a little bit to more towards the end. How did it feel when your brother came back and like other troops? 'Cause I'm assuming you had other friends who had to go to the war as well.
I had a couple friends that went in, but it was really a different war when they went there than when my brother. Again, my brother went there, and it was the escalation of the war was just starting.
Right.
So in '66 to '67, I mean, it was getting big. And then by the time I graduated in '71, most of my friends, direct friends, went to college. So I knew a couple guys who didn't go to college who got drafted, and a couple of them, like the one I was mentioning before, who smashed his knee, was not really somebody I knew too well. I just knew more of it.
Okay.
It was weird to see that. It was sort of kind of a pride thing to see the way it was being projected as not surrendering, but to see the downfall of Saigon and the evacuation and here I grew up in a community that, although my dad didn't go into World War II, every father on the street, because of their age, had been in World War II.
Okay.
So you basically had almost every house I would go into, there were World War II pictures and memorabilia from World War II in every house you went into. So there was a pride sort of there was wars and the Korean War too. So you saw that pretty much everywhere.
Okay. So Neil didn't really have like that kind of unwelcome return that a lot of soldiers had experienced later on.
We had a party for him when he came back, and a lot of people came to him. But no, not at all. In communities where I remember him talking about somebody spitting at him when he came back, and they came in through a line. They would get off the airplanes that they would come in, and I remember him talking about it in the airport a little bit. He didn't get into it because basically they were told that basically you didn't want to have any problems because then they could not throw you back in, but then you would have to fulfill your time back at the Army base, and he wanted to be done with it.
Gotcha.
So, I remember we had this big sign out in front of the house, welcome home Neil, and had a party at the firehouse with all the people and a lot of people there.
Okay.
I remember having a picture of him coming back with his uniform on and stuff. So.
Well, and he had, what was it, 2 Purple Hearts?
4.
4?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn. So, does that mean that Oma got 4, like, telegrams?
Yeah, what actually happened on the other ones, and it's kind of funny to put time in perspective, my brother actually called right as soon as it happened, and in all the cases, there's been arguments about should he have even gotten the Purple Hearts, because they were all small flesh wounds, like one was a piece of shrapnel that went into his hand.
Oh, okay.
And then one was another one where the bullet grazed his arm, another one grazed his leg, and I can't remember the other one. So, again, it's kind of a scary thing, about it. But, he got the 4, and basically he called, and I remember him telling me that it was almost $18 in quarters to make the phone call from that part of the world all the way home.
Oh my God.
For 3 minutes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
So in today's making a cell phone call, it just puts in perspective that he had to put almost $18 in quarters to make the phone call.
I can't imagine the bag you had to carry around with that.
Yeah. So they had places near some of the cities that they had like protected zones for the most part. There's a movie called Good Morning Vietnam that sort of shows that a little bit with Robin Williams, but even then there were bombs that were set off in some of the bars and stuff like that to kill the soldiers.
Wait.
But for the most part, the MPs protected the streets and they had protected zones. And my brother would go into those places. He would get like what was called R&R, rest and relaxation.
Right.
And you would get like a 3-day pass, like once a month, once every 2 or 3 months, something like that, to go in there.
Okay. Now, wait, Good Morning Vietnam, that was where he's like a radio broadcaster?
Right, yeah.
And
But it shows him going into the town a little bit, so just to get a feel for, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, say Robin Williams, generally does pretty good. Well, he's done some good movies.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I guess the final question is, how did your parents respond and act to him going to the war and his involvement? Like, was it different from you? Like, did they... I know you said your Oma was freaked out when she got the telegram, but... Would you say...
No, I mean, my mom was kind of a battle axe. I mean, like I said, the day I turned 18, she fed me breakfast and had me down at the draft board. So, a lot of parents didn't do it for a couple of days, but she took me down first thing in the morning.
Wow.
So she was big at believing that everybody should serve a year or two in the armed forces to whip them into shape. But I always laugh about how when the action really came to her, the